Hey. Welcome to another episode of After the Buzzer Sports Podcast. Man, I'm your host, Lee Jones, live from Memphis, Tennessee. This is my guy, as always, the Hall of Famer, Marvin Owens. What's up, Marv?
What's going on with you, Lee?
Man, I'm good, man. There's been so much going on in the world of sports. We got to get it out. We got to talk about it. I need your help. So much going on, man. And so we got a very exciting show for you today. We put out a poll earlier today on the top four most exciting players in the NBA right now. I put a poll out on Facebook. We're gonna jump into that, but first we're gonna talk about the NBA conference finals. We're gonna do a recap of that. I want to rank these stars. I just said it, 1 through 4. Marv, I need you to help me. Ant-Man from Minnesota, SGA from OKC, Luka Dončić, and Ja Morant. I need you to go 1 through 4. Tell me which one is the best, most exciting, and as we say, the up-and-coming face of the league. I want your thoughts on Bronny James Pro Day. I know you're going to have a lot of thoughts about that, so I need to hear from it. Bronny James Pro Day, actually at the Lakers facility, so I definitely want to hear from you about that. I want to ask you this question because it's all over social media, so I need your help, Marv. Is the WNBA going about it wrong in marketing the league? Not necessarily Caitlin Clark, so I think Caitlin is a big issue, but are they marketing the league, other superstars? I want to talk about the marketing of the WNBA in general around their superstars. The NCAA just approved a $3 billion proposed settlement with college athletes that try to stave off some of these lawsuits that are going on. I want to jump into that. Jaden Rashads, he's at the University of Georgia right now, but he's suing the University of Florida. Not the University of Florida, excuse me. He's suing Bill Napier, their coach, a booster, and the director of NIL. I want to get your thoughts about that because that's a hot topic. He's suing them for $10 million. And then finally, a freshman in high school, Peyton Houston, he just signed an NAI deal. He's in the 9th grade, Marv. I want to get your opinion on what you're thinking about them going down and grabbing these 9th and 10th graders and signing an NIL deal. So we got a hot show, man. I need that. As always, guys, like, subscribe, comment. We need you guys to be a part of this show. You guys make the show. So, Marv, let's jump right into it. NBA Conference Finals. I want to start in the East. Last night, Indiana, hey, great shot, had an 18-point lead. You know, I thought they were going to pull it out, but again, they collapsed. Just down the stretch, too many mistakes, too many errors, and now Boston is up 3-0. What are your thoughts about Indiana even winning a game now that they're going into game 4 tomorrow night? Do you think they can prevent from being swept, or do you think this is a clean sweep by the Boston Celtics? Mark, talk to me.
I mean, ultimately, I think it's going to end up being a clean sweep. I thought their best opportunity was last night, and they played their butts off. Right? They came out with a lot of energy. They came out with the home court, and they were behind them. You had guys making shots that had made those shots all year. T.J. McConnell, who I think is a really good serviceable backup, but he was making threes that he hadn't made all year. So I think Indiana kind of shot their best shot last night, and Boston, outside of Big Daddy Al Horford, whose jumper was about as wet as you can fill in the rest if you like. You can make it as wet as you like it, but his jumper was he kept him in the game early on. Kind of turning back the time there. But what you saw last night with Boston, though, which makes them so appealing, is their depth, right? I think that Indiana played so hard, and you got to those last few minutes of the fourth, and they were absolutely spent, right? The legs were gone. They couldn't make some of the shots that they had made earlier. Some of the penetration and kick moves that they were doing were completely gone. And then you saw Drew Holiday's the pickups that Boston made that wanted to pay dividends later in the playoffs. You saw it start to play dividends. But depth in the NBA is really crucial. I know we don't talk about that a lot, but it's something that you saw rear its head last night. And Indiana gave its best shot. But look, they're down two of their best players. I just don't think Indiana had enough in terms of size to really bother Boston. And look, I'm going to say this, and I know I'm going to probably catch a lot of flack because I catch a lot of flack about everything else. Jaylen Brown has turned into the best player on that team, okay? You can say what you want to say about Jason Tatum. Sure, he's talented, but his game hasn't matured in 5 years. Like you can pretty much tell what move Jason Tatum is going to go to, how he's going to try to finish the game. Jaylen Brown has become a really, really complete player, and I think they're going to go as far as he can continue to take them, but he makes timely shots. He's cleaned up that left hand. You can't really one way or the other, and he's just really, really consistent on both ends. So I think it's a clean sweep, Lee. I think Indiana had their best shot last night. You blew an 18-point lead. Boston is going to go ahead and finish them off.
Question for you. You said Jaylen Brown is the best player. Is he more talented than Tatum, or just have a better killer instinct than Tatum? Talk to me about that.
He's more consistent, right? I don't think that necessarily from a talent standpoint, sure, you look at Jason Tatum and you say he's a more talented player, but consistently this year, Jaylen Brown has been what they've needed when they've needed it. He hit the big three. He's been really, really good. He's when they need big shots made, they tend to lean more towards Jaylen Brown than they do Jason Tatum. Now, I'm not saying Jason Tatum is not talented, because we all know he is, but talent alone doesn't necessarily make you the best player, right? There's got to be other things that come with it. And I think you've seen Jaylen Brown's game, the maturation of his game, especially after last year. Remember all the heat he took last year about he couldn't go left, he couldn't make big shots? Nobody's saying that this year. You can tell he got in the lab. You can tell he worked on stuff, and you can tell he took it real serious about that contract he got. He didn't want to leave any stones unturned. He wanted no questions not to be answered about his game, and I think that's what you're seeing from him right now. I love his game.
Yeah. Robert Agee say, hey, guys, it's over for Indiana. Alrico Farmer, Boston is the best team. Alrico, I want to know if Boston is the best team in the East, or are they the best team left in the playoffs? Holler back at me, Alrico. But the last thing I want to say on the Indiana-Boston game, was it a mistake that Rick Carlisle didn't call a timeout? There's a train of thought that you get it and go, and you push pace and you go and score, but it was so helter-skelter. Do you think, and I'm personally of the thought that he should have called timeout, designed a play, and got a very good shot instead of letting him go, because he basically was trying to go 1-on-3 down the court anyway. Do you think it was a good time for him to just call the timeout, get a solid play, and then try to score the basket to take the lead in the game? What are your thoughts on it, Mark?
Yeah, I think we can all be armchair quarterbacks, so to speak, and kind of look at the situation when all is said and done. But if you remember, in the third quarter into the fourth, that game got real sloppy, right? It kind of turned into a back and forth rec center. We're going to go back and forth, and the last person with the ball is going to score. I think that's kind of what Rick Carlisle was feeling. I think that the game had gotten so out of the realm of what either team was really used to doing. So I can't fault him for it. I think he was just kind of feeling the game out, and he was just letting his guys play. And sometimes as a coach, you got to make that decision to feel it out, and that's what he did. So I don't really fault him for it. Sure, he could have called a timeout and maybe set something up, got a little bit more structure in what they were looking for, but I'm not going to really fault him for it. I think his team just ran out of gas, man.
Yeah. The last look, he had a little more time than he actually did. I mean, he got a decent look, but he was drifting so far. I just thought that was he could have taken a little more time to stabilize himself. But like you said, being an armchair quarterback, that's nitpicking. It's just, it's typical Indiana. They're up and down. They make their mistakes. Even with Halliburton in there, it's the same helter-skelter type of play. I think they just ran out of gas, and now it's time to move on, and I think Boston completes the sweep tomorrow night. Let's go to the Western Conference, a conference that's near and dear to my heart, of course, with the big Luka Dončić shot at the end to take a 2-0 lead, Dallas Mavericks. I'm shouting them out. I love this thing that's going on. I love how the bigs for the Mavericks are playing. Lively and Gafford are just, Jason Kidd is like a puppet master. He's pulling all of the right things doing the flow of the game. I even like Marv how he calls timeouts to rest Luka and Kyrie. He's doing a masterful job. You wouldn't before this year talk as for J Kidd as one of the best coaches in the league, but he's certainly showing that he is a great coach and how he's managing the game. And then you got Luka and Kyrie just doing their thing, man. And I just love it. And Luka Dončić, what else can you say about the shot? I really fought Marv. I fought McDaniel for even switching. I don't think he should have switched. It made it so much easier for Luka to get that shot off. He should have stayed on Luka, but hindsight is 2020. They've been switching all night. But down 2-0 Marv, what can Minnesota actually do? It's a must-win game tonight. They have to win. What are your thoughts on the Western Conference as we go forward?
Yeah, to your point, Lee, I think that's a really good point. It's easy to kind of go back hindsight and talk about what they should do, but those are in-game adjustments that I think Minnesota is really failing on. At a certain point, you're going to have to kind of pick your poison, right? And we both know Kyrie and Luka are phenomenal in what they do. They're professional scorers. I mean, that's what they are. So you're not going to really limit what they do well, but what you can limit is some of that drop coverage that you're giving them opportunities to bail themselves out, but throwing it up to the rim to Lively and Gafford and some of the other guys that they have that come off that drop. And like you said, look, you doing a screen and roll 40 feet from the basket. McDaniels died on the screen, right? He died on it, right? Yeah. So the only thing at that point that could beat you was the three. And you got the ball in the hands of probably one of the best creators that we have in this league right now, Luka. And you die on a 40-foot on-ball screen from the basket and follow Lively down into the lane and leave Gobert on Luka 40 feet from the basket. What the hell did you expect to happen, right? Like anybody that's played basketball knew Luka was setting him up for the three. Like his side to side. Luka's not known for his straight. He was setting them up for that, and everybody knew it. So I don't know how you don't make that adjustment. I don't know how you don't call that timeout to say we're gonna double Luka off this screen. Kyrie was in the same corner he was. We're gonna make sure we don't leave Kyrie. And actually, Ant did a great job. He stuck to Kyrie like glue. So you only have one shooter in the other corner. Make Lively make a decision at the middle of the court. Now, Lively was making good choices throughout the game when he was getting it at that short elbow, up at the free throw line and making really, really good passes. But I would live with that. But I'm not going to live with Luka on Gobert 40 feet from the basket, playing with him, toying with him, and getting off his shot in rhythm to beat you with the only shot that could beat you. It was terrible, terrible coaching and execution.
Yeah. To me, to your point, I'd rather Lively have the ball. Someone that in that situation who hasn't been in that situation really before, into the game having to score as opposed to Luka or Kyrie. And that's what they should have done. It's not like everybody else was burning it up. It was just Kyrie big in the fourth quarter. Luka made the big shot. The rest of the guys were just, so-so. So it was terrible coaching. And I don't care what anyone says, that mattered. The play before, when Anthony Edwards threw the ball away. I mean, what are you doing? I mean, don't you have to see the person? I mean, that was ridiculous. And to your point, it seems like Minnesota in their late game decision making, they're awful. I mean, they've been awful in both games. I mean, just terrible late game decision making and coaching for that matter. And like I said, Jay Kidd is just doing a masterful job of how he's orchestrating the Dallas Mavericks. And even to the point, Mark, we don't even see Tim Hardaway Jr. He's not even playing in this series, really. But Green is coming in, giving them big minutes. And then the Hardy kid come in, playing hero. Just a masterful job by Jason Kidd. Great closing by Kyrie and Luka. And man, the Dallas Mavericks are on their way. Now, it's going to be a tough game because Minnesota's going to lay it all on the line. It's going to be a tough game, and we'll see. But let
me ask you this, Lee.
Uh-huh.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Just down the stretch, I want to ask you, and I'll turn it back over to you. Down the stretch, do you feel Minnesota will get tight again down the stretch? Because if they lose this game, the series is over. Can they execute enough to win the game? That would be my question to you and your thoughts on that.
I mean, if we're answering it based on experience, so the answer will be no. I mean, they've given us nothing to make us believe that they can handle and make the right decisions down the stretch. The questionable decision with not having Mike Conley Jr. in the game. Like you can say what you want to say about Mike Conley at this point of a career, but he's an excellent point guard and he's an excellent facilitator and he gets people in the right spots. But here's the question I want to ask you real quick. After Ant made that turnover, do you call that timeout to get set? Right? He called no timeout to talk about what potentially would happen. So do you think that he made a mistake in not calling a timeout in that instance? And let me also ask you this about Cat. Is it time to maybe limit his minutes? Do you give Naz Reid more minutes and allow him to give you what he's been giving you on a much larger sample size, because Cat is just basically ineffective. He's a 7-foot shooter who's not shooting the three well, and then he's not giving you anything really offensively within the post to at least maybe try to limit some of the effectiveness of Dallas's size, maybe get some guys in foul trouble. So he's not giving you that. He's not hitting a 3-point shot. He's not been very good defensively. So where do they go at this point? I just wanted to kind of ask you those two questions.
Yeah, for me, look, two things. If I'm Cat, I'm going in the coach, and me and the coach are going to have a conversation. I'm not sitting on the bench the last 7 minutes of the game. If I'm Cat now, if I'm Cat going in, me and head coach, we got to have a conversation. I should have been in that game. I think they should have taken Gobert out the game, kept Naz Reid in there, and brought Cat back. That's what, personally, you would have been better defensively in playing out on the floor and guarding and making those switches on the floor. And let's face it, Dallas with Cat and Naz Reid in there is similar size, so I don't think that would have been an issue. But so if I'm Karl Anthony Towns, I'm pissed off. I'm pissed off that I wasn't in there as a decision maker to affect the game, and I'm not setting the last 7 minutes of the game. Me and the coach would have a conversation. But to your point, I think he should have called timeout, set your defense to how you want to play Dallas, and he didn't do that. He just let the game continue to flow, and Dallas literally can get any shot they want, Marv. Any shot they want, anytime they want it. They can get any shot because of the defense that they're playing, and it's tailor-made for how he's coaching Minnesota for the Mavs to succeed. Either they're going to make a bunch of threes, Marv, or Kyrie and Luka are going to throw that lob all night long. But the way they're dropping in that defense, it's set up for them to score as much as they want. And if they're hitting their threes, I don't see any way Minnesota can beat them.
And one of the most interesting stats, though, which makes this a little bit more, a conundrum for them on who to play is that Minnesota's actually plus minus. They're plus 15 with Gobert on the floor in this series, right? So and they're in the minus with Cat. So that lends itself to say, who are we most effective within this series? Is it Cat? Because Gobert has been pretty effective. Now, I don't think there's anybody in the league that could have. I don't care who you were. When Luka got that ball at the top and does what he does at 6'8" and can create space, and he's one of the best start-stop guys that we can see in the league. I mean, there's nobody could have stopped that shot. And everybody giving Gobert flack. But what you want a 7'2" dude to do, caught out top by himself, that a coach put him in the position to be into, what did you expect from him? So, yeah, I suspect we're going to see Minnesota make some real big adjustments defensively tonight, because they got to win tonight. We both know that. Like, this is, you got to do whatever you got to do to get a win under your belt, put some pressure back on Dallas to hold serve a little bit. So it'll be interesting. I'm looking forward to tonight.
Yeah, Robert Agee, man, I appreciate you agreeing with me on this issue. You need to agree with me on more issues, but I thank you for agreeing with me on that one. Rico Farmer, you have to respect Luka's outside shooting. You definitely have to. That's why you got to get the ball out of their hands. Kippy Bannister, Marv, she called you Coach Marv now. She's saying go out and do your thing. And now, Rico, Luka's going to shoot the ball. We knew that shot was going to be Luka. I totally agree. So we're going to see what this game tonight entails, but hey, a lot of pressure on Minnesota. The issue is this for me. Anthony Edwards, Marvy, hadn't played well in the last 3 ball games that they've had. He just hadn't played well. And that's
he didn't play well in the game 7. He didn't play well going back to game 7 with Denver. Yeah.
The last 3 games, he hadn't played well. And, people were talking about face of the league, Jordan-ness and all that stuff. Look, man, you the best player on the team. You got to show up. And if you're that guy, you'll lead them to victory tonight. So I'm going to transition, Marv. It goes perfectly into our next topic. I wanted to ask you, Marv, of the young stars in the league, and I picked out 4 of the young stars, and I need the audience to help us out here. So of the 4 stars that I'm about to name, I want you to rank them 1 through 4 as far as the best to the worst. And I'm going to give them to you, and I'm going to give them to the audience. Anthony Edwards, SGA, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Luka Dončić, and Ja Morant. Those are my 4, Marv. And I'll put one caveat on it. Now, let's think back to 2023 Ja last year, and not Ja Morant this year, because he only played 7 games. Think about what Ja was and is, and let's talk about that. Rank them 1 through 4 for me, Marv. And I want the audience to rank them for me as well.
I mean, I think number one is pretty easy at this point. I hadn't been the biggest Luka fan. You turning me, you turning me with this Dallas team with the moves that they made at the deadline were huge, man. You said it when the trade happened. I wasn't high on it, but man, it's come to fruition because they playing the hell out of some defense. But Luka's number one. I mean, period, point blank. Let's just cut that right there. Number two, I'm going with SGA. I mean, SGA can give you efficiently 30 without even knowing. He's great on both ends of the floor. The pace and just the fluidity that he plays with. I just love him as a player, and I think he's someone who affects winning. So to me, SGA is number two. If I'm going number three, I'm going Ant. I mean, I think his stock dropped a little bit, but let's not make no mistake about it. Every player goes through stretches where they're not the best that they can be, but there's no denying his talent and who he is and what he's going to continue to be. I suspect that he'll probably be challenging for number one here pretty soon. And number four, you got Ja, but I'm gonna replace Ja because I hadn't seen Ja. Okay. I hadn't seen Ja in a while. I don't know. Okay, I don't know what Ja is right now. Okay, so like Janet Jackson. What have you done for me lately? I need what's going on now, and I'm a in the moment type of person. So I'm going Tyrese Maxey. I think that you have to take notice what Maxey has done with an ailing Embiid and how he carried that team. He's got 3 50-point games. He'll probably catch Iverson if he stays at 76ers. Iverson had 10 50-point games, but he had 3 himself this year. Tyrese Maxey is a speed demon. He's a shot maker. He's not scared of the moment. And I think he showed in moments this year without Embiid how good he is. And why Philadelphia wanted to move some of those pieces away for him to start to let his maturation process take place and to speed it up a little bit. So right now I got Tyrese Maxey at 4. I know a lot of people gonna hate that. I love Ja. I just hadn't seen Ja, so I don't know what he is. I hope he come back with a jumper. But outside of that, that's gonna be my 4 right now. Of course, Ja can get back up in there because we all know what he is. But I saw Tyrese this year, and he's taking his game to another level. So he's number 4 for me right now.
All right, let me catch up a few people. Recycle me, Marv. You're tripping. The disrespect. Josh said, stay on that side. Vincent Lyons, exactly what I said, the Hall of Famer. So Vincent is right with you, Marv. And Kippy Banner said, I agree with you with your points, Marv. So you got some people that say you tripping on one side and others that say, Marv, you right on point. Marv, you're tripping. You're tripping right now. Look, you're tripping. Thank you, Recycle Me, because Marv is tripping right now. Look, Luka, without any question, Luka's won. There's no doubt about it. Luka has been consistent from day one. He's doing it big. He got the perfect run and make, but it can't be said how great Luka Dončić is. And I wasn't a Luka Dončić fan coming in, but his game has sold me. Luka is the man. Passing the ball. I mean, you got to look at Luka. Luka averaged 33.9 points a game, 9.2 rebounds, and 9.8 assists. He the man. That's interception number 1. Number 2, without a doubt, Ja Morant. Look, you can say
number 2?
Number 2, Marv. Number 2. Like I said, that's why I said think back to last year and not this year. Last year, Ja averaged 26.2 points a game, 5.9 rebounds, and 8 assists. And before the gun incident, without a shadow of a doubt, everybody was recognizing him as the one. The face of the league is Ja Morant. And I think when Ja Morant comes back, he's going to be on a tear. You're right, Marv. His jumper needs to improve, but it's good enough that he shoots the 3, 33% clip or something like that. His penetration, his mid-game is there. His float game is better than anybody in the league. And then going to the baskets, there's none better. Ja's number 2. Number 3, I have SGA, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Just smooth in what he does. His game is just perfect. He's smooth. I would like to see him pick up his assists because SGA is averaging about 6 assists a game. He can get more people involved with the assists, but he's number 3. And then Anthony Edwards is number 4. We anointed Anthony Edwards way too fast. He's a great young player, and he's the best two-way player. He's the best two-way player of all of them, but he's not the best player of those 4 4. Mark, those are my 4. Tell me what you think about it, bro, and then we're going to get some more comments in on that.
I hadn't seen Ja. And look, Ja's South Carolina boy. I'll never disrespect Ja. I know his daddy. And I know you in Memphis. So I know you can't step out of your door without putting Ja number 2. Like, I get it. I get there might be a little pressure there for you to put Ja up there, but we just hadn't seen Ja in a while. So I got to go on what I've seen. It's been a while since I've seen him. And what I saw from Tyrese Maxey was enough for me to say, yo, you're gonna have to take notice with Tyrese. Like, he has put himself in the conversation, and you can't really, his game doesn't have a lot of deficiencies. Okay. He shoots it way better than Ja. You can't say that he's not as quick as Ja, maybe not as explosive. I don't think anybody is more explosive than Ja in the league, but in every other aspect of the game, it's hard to say that outside of the explosiveness that you watch and the highlights that Ja creates for you, if you watching the game, it's hard to say that Tyrese isn't right there. It's hard to say it. If you being real about the sport of basketball and watching guys play and who affects winning and makes big shots and makes players around them better, it's hard to say Tyrese is not in that conversation right now.
Ja gives you 8 assists a game, Mark. He gives you 8 solid assists a game. He gives you almost 6 rebounds a game. And there's none other when we talk about even Maxey and Ja, both of them, they pick up the pace. They're one-man fast break. But the explosiveness in the way Ja plays and the explosiveness that he has when he gets that ball off the rim and take it coast to coast, there's none better in the league. Maxey's good, but I don't think he touches Ja Morant and what Ja was and is. And let's get this straight. Yeah, Ja didn't play. He was injured, but Ja's going to come back with a force that I think this league is not going to withstand. I think his head is in the right spot. I think the way he's focused on coming back in the league and everything. I am in Memphis and everything I'm hearing and seeing from Ja is ready for next year. So Ja and then SGA. Look, SGA is just a smooth operator, as they say. I love his game. I put him 3. And then Ant got a lot to prove to me. Ant got a lot to prove to me. He's played, and we got wowed by Ant. And like I said, he's the best two-way player, but certainly, I think he's 4th.
I mean,
I do like Maxey, Marv. I think Robert Agee wanted to throw out Jaylen Brown in that mix. Jaylen Brown, we was talking about the younger generation. He's 8 years in, but Brown is a great player. But I like the 4 that we put up there. And like I said, Maxey's a close 5th.
I don't know how we sit here and have this conversation. And in one breath, you saying that Ant Edwards got a lot to prove to you, but he just knocked out the defending NBA champions that we all saw on national television, and he's been everywhere that we've seen, and we ain't seen Ja in a year. So who really has more to prove right now? I mean, I understand your loyalty, and yeah, recycle me. I might lose my Carolina card, but I just got to keep it real with what I see. I think Ja got more to prove. Now, listen. Will it be great for the league with Ja to come back on a tear and be Ja and better than he ever was before in that Western Conference? Damn right it will be. And I'm looking forward to it because if I know anything about him and know about his family, he coming for the smoke. And I know he is. So I'm not real worried about that. But just from what I've seen up to this point, because I haven't seen him, I just got to go with Tyrese. So that's just my logic in it. But I feel where you're coming from.
You call them, it's see me now, don't see me later. I get you, Marv. That's what you're doing. I feel you. Hey, great list. Y'all keep the comments coming. You're on with After the Buzzer Sports Podcast, ISF Production. Please subscribe, continue to comment, tell a friend about us. This is how we do it. Keep bringing those comments in about anything we've talked about. I want to switch it up. Vincent Line, and he's playing for the Western Conference. Great point, Vincent. Great point. Ant-Man is playing in the Western Conference Championship. I have to give that credit to you and Marv on that. Still doesn't make him better than the others, but he is playing. That's kudos for that. That's real. That's real talk. I'll do that. Let's switch it up, Marv. I want to go to your favorite topic. I know you love this topic. This is one of your favorite topics. You love this guy. I'm going to start out because, last time we were on and we were talking about Bronny James and some of the things that you said, he came in at 6'1.5" and who's 6'1.5" and all that stuff about Bronny. Bronny worked out this past week at the Lakers facility in front of all 30 GMs and a house pack checking his game out. I think Bronny had a tremendous workout. He showed excellent explosion. He shot the ball extremely well. Ball handling was there, letting the scouts know that if need be, he can play the point guard position, I think. But more than that, I wanted to give you some names because you and others have thrown out to me his height at the combine, and everybody was losing their minds over Bronny James's height. So I want to throw a few people out at you. Ja Morant, he's 6'2". He's 6'2". So he and Bronny basically the same height, right? Mike Conley, 6 feet tall. 6 feet tall. We just saw Mike Conley have a tremendous game in the Western Conference Finals. We just saw that, right? So we saw Mike Conley. Kyrie Irving, he's 6'2". We see Kyrie Irving doing his thing, taking Dallas to the Western Conference. He's 6'2". Steph Curry, he's 6'2". He's 6'2", right? 6'2", 6'3". And his brother Steph Curry, he's 6'1". So when we throw out these Bronny's not 6'4" comparison, he don't need to be 6'4". The guy has a 40-inch vertical, and other than Ja, he probably has more athleticism than any other. Well, excuse me. Let me take that back. Other than Kyrie Irving, he probably has more athleticism and handle than any one of the people that we just talked about, right? So Marv, let's frame this around, okay? The height doesn't matter. It doesn't scare me off from Bronny. He shot the ball tremendously well in the individual workouts. He showed that he can handle. And the last thing, and I'll throw it over to you, in his interview sessions with the scouts, they said they were extremely impressed with his basketball knowledge and aptitude. So talk to me, Marv. Are you still under the impression that Bronny James should not be drafted, will not be drafted? Talk to me, brother.
So I'm going to preface this by saying, and I love these names that you threw out at me. Ja Morant, Conley, Kyrie, Steph. So my argument initially was the fact that he never should have got an NBA Combine invite.
Wow.
You name me a 6'1" guard, and I will continue to say this, and when somebody can prove me wrong, please do it. But you name me a 6'1" point guard that averaged 4 points in college, okay, that played on a team that he didn't start, that was one of the worst in the Pac-12, that has a potential lottery pick in Isaiah Collier. You find me a guard that put up those numbers in college, I don't care where, and got an NBA Combine invite. That was what I said. All right. That's not hate. That's factual. Now, you can hate that I'm saying it, but it's still factual in a sense that find me somebody. You brought up Ja Morant. What did Ja Morant do at Murray State to get himself in that position? Okay. We don't have to go through it. Everybody who's watched basketball, and if you're saying Ja wasn't that dude at Murray State, then you didn't watch basketball. What did Mike Conley? What did Mike Conley do at Ohio State? Okay, in that year that he was there, I think they went to the Final Four, if I'm not mistaken, with Greg O.
He averaged 11 points a game. His career averaged 11 points.
He led a major college basketball team as a freshman, averaging 38 minutes to a Final Four. Enough said. That's a resume builder. What did Steph Curry do in the NCAA tournament? So to make the comparison that somehow a kid that played 4 minutes a game, averaged 4 points a game, can be on the level of these guys to get an NBA Combine invite is absurd. And that's factual. Okay. I don't have anything against Bronny. I don't have any. I hope he lives his NBA dream out, because anybody who aspires to get what they want, I hope that they can get it. But that's still a fact, right? So we can't just act like that hasn't happened. Okay. So let's make some other clarifications here really quickly. He doesn't have a 40-inch vertical. All right. He has a 40-inch running vert, right? There's two different verts. There's two different verts that, well, so let me give you guys a little bit of a backdrop. I actually have friends who are NBA scouts. I actually have some friends who were at the scouting combine and watched him play. And I'm going to give you something from people who were actually there, not from the machine that kind of pumped this stuff out, right? He's got a 32-inch vertical. That's a standing still, straight up vert. He's got a 32-inch vertical. Have y'all seen that anywhere? Has that been reported anywhere? I don't think so, right? Nobody knows that. So let me tell you what he actually was in those two scrimmages. He hit 2 3-pointers in the second game and made 2 floaters in the first. Hold on. Over the course of his 2 days in scrimmages. Hold on. Because you guys keep on talking about how well he shoots it, right? How well he is in individual drills. But in the game, he went 2 for 9 from 3-point range, and he was 3 for 5 from the free throw line. He went 6 of 18 altogether in his 2 scrimmage games with 4 rebounds, 2 assists, and 4 turnovers.
Okay.
2 assists. Okay. Wait. 2 assists, 4 turnovers. I know a lot of you not mathematicians out there, but if you take 2 assists and 4 turnovers, you're probably in the negative, right? In your plus minus. That's what you grade out to be. So I get it. He made 12 of 15 3-pointer. Hell, Lee, you can make 12 of 15 3-pointers with nobody guarding you right now. I probably could too. All of you out there that say I'm hating on him, you probably could too. It's not hate. It's still facts. Give you another name, John Hollinger, right? A lot of you Memphis fans should know who he is. Who is he? He was one of the main scouts for the Memphis Grizzlies. Who did he scout? Ja Morant. What did he say about Bronny? He said he is a multi-year college basketball player that if his bloodlines didn't say James, would not get an NBA draft invite. Is that me hating? Or is that somebody who's actually done this for years and years and scouted thousands of players that says he's not there yet? There's nothing wrong with him not being there yet, but you can't tell me from a resume standpoint that he should have been at the combine. That's all that I'm saying. That's not hate. That's factual. And then you threw these names out here like he's comparable to them. Man, come on, man. Yes. How? He has no resume besides his name. And nepotism is great. Our former president had people in cabinet positions that ain't had no business being in cabinet. So I'm not hating, because if my daddy could have got me in it, I would be in it too. Just like somebody made a comment that maybe my bloodline was closed-ended. Maybe it was. I guess it was. So if my bloodline had Bronny James, I mean the James last name, perhaps I wouldn't be sitting here making these assessments about him. But those are all facts. Okay. And people get really emotional about the fact that it's still factual. You can have an opinion, but you can't have different facts. And those are the facts about Bronny James.
But Marv, you talk about facts, but the facts are he is at the combine. He is playing in front of the scouts. He did outplay other players that were those same scouts that you talked about.
Who?
You ask him?
I've not heard a name. I've not heard a name that. I've not heard a name that he is.
There was a lot of trash at the combines. Come on, Marv, you have to realize that. But let me give you something.
Could he have been one of it?
Dr. O said, you're spitting facts and not hate. Dr. O, I love you. Vincent Line, I told Lee the exact same thing. I hear you, Vincent. Rico said, Dr. O, now you know this is true. Let me say this. You said, who did he compare to? Who was my comparison, Marv, a few weeks ago with Bronny James? I compared him to Russell Westbrook coming out of UCLA. Did I not? Did I not? I'm just, come on. Did I not compare him to Russell Westbrook? Well, audience, I have to, I'm going to dig and get the facts. These are Russell Westbrook's career stats at UCLA. This is his career stats at UCLA. He averaged 8.3 points a game.
That's more than 4.
Hold on. Let me finish. He averaged 2.4 rebounds a game. He averaged 2.5 assists a game. He was the number 4 pick in the first round of the NBA draft.
So are you going to conveniently hold on? I know you, as a Dallas Cowboy fan, I know you conveniently move goalposts here with your arguments. So are you going to conveniently leave out his NCAA performance that got him drafted? I played with a guy in college that went number 2 in the draft. I played with a guy in college that went number 2 in the draft that put up 39 in an NCAA tournament game and 20 rebounds, and then turned around and put up 20 and 20 in an NCAA tournament game, right? He averaged 12. He averaged 12 on the season. So if you turn around and tell me Bronny did that, like Westbrook did when he was in the NCAA tournament, and everybody knew he was the best athlete on the floor because you saw it, if you told me that, I'll give you that argument. But we've not seen it. Nobody's seen it.
This is why the people want the hate to stop. I just gave you a comparable comparison. Russell Westbrook. So if you average 8 points a game if you average 3 rebounds a game and 2 assists, should you be the number 4 pick in the NBA draft? And that's what I'm asking you. So did they draft Russell Westbrook on his college performance, or did they draft him?
They drafted him on the potential that they saw him perform within a college basketball season. When he went to the NCAA, Lee. He's not performed to that level. Name me a game where you saw Bronny James play that you said he's a pro.
I thought he's a pro already with his skill set, even coming out of
what skill set? He averaged 13 points in high school. Name me another McDonald's All-American that averaged 13 points in high school. That's 6'1".
McDonald's All-Americans, it depends on who you're playing. Remember this. He had 4 other players on that Sierra Canyon team that went D1. He wasn't going to average 20 points a game. Come on now. He has similar stats to Russell Westbrook's career stats. That's not a lie. Any of you can go look it up. So you're telling me a person that averaged 8 points, 3 rebounds, and 2 assists should have been the number 4 pick in the draft. That's what I'm saying. Dr. O, it was the NCAA games that got him drafted because his game at UCLA did not. I'm in LA. You're in LA, so you understand. Russell Westbrook's career didn't warrant him being the number 4 pick. And Vincent Lyons and that fact that you said was actually good. Look, again, y'all are throwing stuff at me. His stats, and that's what we were talking about, did not warrant him being the number 4 pick. Let me give you one more thing, and I'll throw it back to you, Marv. I'm not even saying that Bronny James should be a first-round pick. But let me, I'm going to do my research. The second round of the draft last year, the 31st pick, name was James Nagy. The guy averaged 3 points and 2 rebounds and a half a block a game.
Lee, how tall? Okay, great point. Lee, no, stop. Okay. Stop right there. Okay. How tall was he? How tall was he? Tell me how.
6'11". He was 6'11". Okay.
No.
It doesn't matter.
I'm going to wait for one of you, all of you that say I hate, I'm going to wait for one of you to give me a 6'1" guard that averaged 4 points in college after 1 season of college basketball, that got an NBA draft combine invite and got drafted in the league. Give me one. That's not 6'8" or better. Give me a guard. That's all I'm asking. So
it's a positionless league now. It's a positionless league now. What the 42nd pick in the draft, his name was Tristan Vucevic. He's from France. The guy averaged 1 point, 1 rebound in 6 minutes in France, and he was the 42nd pick in the draft. So you're telling me these guys can be drafted, but the bloodline, Bronny James can't. That's ridiculous. And
okay, great. I am glad that you just said what you said. The bloodline, and I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad that he's LeBron James' son and he's getting an opportunity because he is. But if his last name was Bronny Jones, he wouldn't sniff the NBA combine. Let's just keep it real, man. Nobody hating on the kid, but we also still have to be honest. We still have to be honest about the process, though. Like, this isn't being honest. And you guys are talking about how well he shot it. You talking about how well he shot in the stand and drill, but in the game, he was 2 for 9 for 2 days on 3. He did the same stuff he did at USC that he did in the combine. I'm gonna tell you exactly what my scouts were. You want me to tell you a scout report? Here we go. Showed the same traits we saw at USC: an inability to gain separation off the dribble or get into the paint, a limited ability to leverage his straight line speed, and one-legged leaping ability to the run of the play. That's the same stuff they saw on tape with him at USC, is the same stuff they saw at the combine. That is not hate. That is an evaluation of what they've seen. So why okay to say this is what we see from him? Is this an NBA prospect? That's not hate. That's asking a question.
And you're perfectly okay to ask that question. And that was one scout's opinion. But luckily,
that's several.
There's 29 other scouts in the league. But let me say this. I don't care what you say. A person that averaged 1 point, 1 rebound, should not be drafted in the NBA draft. We can all agree on that. 1 point, 1 rebound, and he's 6'11". Why is he being drafted? Matter of fact, he should be a lifeguard at the local swimming pool, YMCA, because he can't play basketball. But he was drafted.
But a 6'1" that averaged 4 points and didn't start for his college team should be.
That's ridiculous, Marv. I can't go with that one.
Because his last name is Bronny James, and I'm okay with that. If that's what gets him into the league, more power to him. I'm happy for him. I'm happy for the brother. But come on, man. We still got to have some standards when it comes to basketball. And nobody that watches basketball can be honest and say that what he put up from a resume standpoint, and you giving me Ja and Conley and Steph and Kyrie, man, his resume don't even stack up to that to be there.
His resume is such that if he gets drafted,
that's his resume.
If he gets drafted in the second round, it's in line with what everybody else drafts in the second round. And there's no fact. I can give you player after player after player in the second round, and I can give you of those
picks, next week, what I need next week is don't give me 6'11s and don't give me 6'9s and 7-footers. Give me 6'1, give me 5'10" to 6'1s. Okay, that's what I need.
You know me. I'm gonna dive into my book again and do some more research.
Dive into the book, and that's what I need.
Let's switch it up a bit. Let's go to one of our favorite ladies, Caitlin Clark. I have a question, Marvin. I need the audience to chime in on this one as well. You know, we've seen the promotion machine across the country, and look, I preference everything that I say with this. I think Caitlin Clark certainly was a great college player. She certainly was a great college player. You and I, Marv, we've talked about this a great deal. We thought that there was some flaws in her game transitioning from college to the WNBA. I think we both had some comments about that. What I'm saying really is this. The hype machine behind Caitlin Clark, I think the league is missing a great opportunity to promote some of these great players that they have in the league right now. And namely, you know, I just saw a commercial with A'ja Wilson on it, but A'ja Wilson is the most dominant player in the league right now. Last night, for instance, they played the FIFA, right? Of course, Caitlin had 8 points and 5 rebounds and, you know, a couple of 6 assists, but she had 5 turnovers again. So, you know, Caitlin got to continue to work. But look at what A'ja Wilson did. 29 points, 15 rebounds, 2 blocks. And they're not promoting these guys. Kalia Cooper, she's averaging 28.5 points a game. She's the leading scorer in the WNBA. I know the audience probably didn't know who she was. Arika Ogumlewale for the Dallas Wings, averaging 28 points a game, right? Nakisha Collier, she's averaging 28 and 15 rebounds. We don't hear about any of these people when we market the league. And I say, Marv, you don't build a league off of one player, because right now, even though these teams initially, it was sold out these arenas to see Caitlin, the product on the court doesn't match up with the hype that's outside right now. That means she's not going to get better, but it's not matching up. I think the league is missing a tremendous opportunity to promote some of these other stars. Marv, what is your opinion?
I'm going to go back to something real quick because I can't let this pass because, you know, sometimes I can be petty. I saw a comment from Farmer. I'm not quite sure, you know, young lady, young man, but said that Mark Zuckerberg didn't have a resume. Well, Mark Zuckerberg didn't need a resume. He created an algorithm that put people across the world together on a platform that all of us seem to use on a daily basis. So sometimes when you're a creator, you don't necessarily need a resume to kind of create a space. Bronny needs a resume to create a space, right? That's just what he needs. So I couldn't let that pass. Zuckerberg was a terrible analogy here. But anyway, let's move forward.
Rico Farmer, he's petty, but go ahead, Marv.
Yeah. I mean, come on, man. Zuckerberg didn't need a resume. Let's just stop that. So the interesting thing is, Lee, is that viewership in the WNBA from last year to this year is up about 16%. It's the highest it's been in 21 years. The WNBA final had its largest viewership last year in 2 decades, up 36% since 2022. So if we're looking from a numbers perspective, the WNBA is starting to gain some popularity. The numbers are increasing. Heads like us watch the WNBA and know these people because we just like to watch basketball. But Silicon Valley and Media Ion is starting to promote women.
Friday night package. Yep.
Friday night package. So
can I ask you something? Those numbers are up, but has it translated to increases in player salary? The marketing of the league, they still average, last year right around 600,000, 660, 700,000 viewership. I expected, and I'm sorry, I expected the initial jump to be up, but is it sustainable, Marv? That's what I want to ask you.
Yeah, I mean, that's the good question. At this point, we don't know. Right. Because the WNBA is still in that really, really bad collective bargaining agreement. And I know the ins and outs, all that stuff with football. You get deep into that stuff. They had a really bad CBA, the WNBA, and they're coming out of their CBA. I think they renegotiate at the end of this coming season with probably more media rights and more media packages kind of put into that. And the WNBA now is in a position of not trying to prove why they exist or that they should be at the table. It's who's going to give us the best opportunity moving forward to promote our league and to put it where we really need it to be. They're no longer trying to ask for it. I think they're in a position to just kind of go and take what they want. So it'll be interesting, but they got to get a better CBA. It was dog crap what they had. And we're going to see. And Caitlin Clark and the notoriety of what she's brought to the game in the league is only going to help that. But I understand the position of a lot of WNBA players who say that this league has been here and one young lady isn't putting us to where we are now, but she's bought grandmothers and sisters and daughters from Iowa and Nebraska and places that you've never had a fan base from before. And that has to be something that you also recognize and embrace, because it's only going to be good, for the promotion of your sport and your league. So I think the WNBA is actually doing a pretty good job. I think that they are using their butter that's being bread in their butter with Caitlin Clark, because she's what everybody wants to see. And she's bringing that NIL college crowd to the WNBA, and that's only going to help them. So, we will see, though, because they got a lot of obstacles coming up here, and I need to see this new TV deal.
Well, let me say this. And I agree with a lot of what you said, Marv. Vincent Lyons, league player salaries can increase until the new agreement. That's true. That's true. Let me say this to you, guys. I expected the initial bump because of the when I say hype machine, I'm not talking about Caitlin at all, but the hype machine and the push for Caitlin, Marv. I expected that. There's no doubt about that. I expected people to want to see her, but as her skill set and what we see on the court wanes, as that comes down with the initial hype of what people thought she was going to be, because all of these people that you're talking about and that these other people are talking about thought she was going to come in the league and be the exact same player that she was in college and coming into the WNBA. You know me very well, Mark. I never had that opinion. And so as her talent starts to be more realized in a way that there are other stars in that league and it comes down, then the interest in Caitlin may wane. But the other point I want to make is, when you look at late spring programming, there is a place for the WNBA, and they're taking full advantage of it. When I look at their season from May to September, what's coming up, the baseball playoffs are coming up, the NFL is coming up, and casual fans that are football fans that are watching the WNBA, Marv, where do they go? And that's the negotiation that they're going to have with these TV sponsors and these other industries, and how much can they get from that advertising in late July, August, and September is going to drive what that new collective bargain. I don't think that the WNBA is in a place right now to go in and demand this is what we want. I disagree with that. I don't think that is, but I do think their product has definitely got better, and that's why I say you have to make sure that you're capitalizing on some of this other great talent that's out there, because you have some great people in the league.
Yeah, Vincent just made the point about Tiger, and I couldn't agree more. I was just getting ready to say that, Vincent, about Tiger when he, what
Tiger,
he did
Caitlin is not Tiger in that hype. That argument to
he's
me
not.
does not fly. It does not fly because
She's not.
Golf was getting 14 million people watching golfing events before Tiger got there. He increased it absolutely, but it was an established sport. I disagree with that. I just don't agree with that premise.
Well, so here's where the WNBA missed the ball, and I know we sit here and we pontificate and give our opinions about whatever, but if you really wanted to see this escalate early on, what was the WNBA thinking when we knew mid-season last year when Caitlin Clark was playing at Iowa, she was going to be the number one pick, right? WNBA hadn't put out a schedule. They scheduled her probably the toughest defensive team in the WNBA to start her season, right? Like if you look at that schedule that they have early on, and I know this was about viewership and this was about those things, but they really did a disservice to that team because they weren't good enough to compete. Number one. Number two, you going up against some grown ass women that play this sport professionally from Alyssa Williams, all those they had a target on their back. I would have made the schedule a little bit more likable to Caitlin Clark's skill set to promote her coming out. Maybe she comes out on fire. Maybe she doesn't get indoctrinated the way that she had in the first few games that she did in the WNBA. I don't understand the scheduling that they put forth for the Indiana Fever. It didn't look like it's set up for a really good marketing piece for the WNBA and Caitlin Clark to maintain that momentum she had brought from college. That's the piece that I think they really missed out on because I couldn't understand that schedule.
Yeah, but Mark, and I agree with you. Certainly the early scheduling, they wanted to get as much out because they had her on a lot of nationally televised games. Yeah. So they wanted to get as much out of her as possible. But what they did not think was going to happen is that when she got out there, how she played was not going to align with what the hype was. And that didn't equate. And so they thought they were getting a different product. Doesn't mean Caitlin's not going to be a great player at some point. But what they thought coming in by scheduling her in all of these games, they thought they were going to get those 30-point games and all of this hoopla, and it's just not materialized. Rico talked about, are they bringing the hype? Absolutely. Because let me say this. These women in the WNBA, the athleticism is off the chain, their ability to guard, and they can get up on you. And the way the game is officiated, athleticism matters. And so that's the thing that's affecting this. And I agree with you. Everybody's talking about golf. I agree that Tiger increased the salaries and all of that. But golf was an established sport on all the major networks prior to Tiger. The viewership.
Yeah, but being established sport, and it doesn't mean fiscally that they were healthy. Golf was in a real bad spot before Tiger was, and people who follow golf would tell you from a fiscal standpoint, golf was not making a lot of money.
Look, everything, and I agree, the purses got larger, but viewership equates to advertising. That's marketing 101, viewership. And if they were averaging 12 to 14 million people before Tiger, yeah, the purses got larger because they went from 14 million to 20 million. I agree with that. But don't discount the 14 million that they had before Tiger. Those are facts. Just look it up. But that's what I'm saying about Caitlin. You cannot tell me, Marv, if her 8 points and 5 rebounds and 5 turnovers is not going to get it. Wasn't what the people in scheduling her thought that was going to happen. Would you agree?
But 4 points will. Okay.
You're great. But that's what I wanted to say about that. Okay. I mean, Caitlin, I just say put more marketing dollars and push behind some of the great players in the WNBA so that you can sustain this. And all of the focus, if you're saying Caitlin, and as Caitlin game is not where you thought it was going to be, you still have all these great players that you can push more. That's what I say. I want to turn to this NCAA. Excuse me, go ahead.
No, good point, Lee. That's all I'm saying. Good point.
I want to go to this NCAA $3 billion settlement, Marv. I need you to comment on this because the NCAA is proposing a $3 billion settlement with athletes over a 10-year period. for all of these lawsuits that have come out against the NCAA as far as name, image, and likeness. The colleges presidents have agreed to it. The Power Four conference is going to take the lead on the majority of the money from a perspective of dividing it up. The other 27 non-conference teams are going to pay, I think, $990 million. The Power Four are going to pay $660 million. Marv, what do you think about the settlement? What do you think about what this means for college athletics in general? And what do you think? This assures that the NCAA will be around for 10 more years if the players agree. What do you think about this settlement?
I mean, college athletics, they're done. Like there's no more amateurism. There's no more college sports. I know don't have a lot of time, so I'll make this quick. The only thing that runs into my head are numbers, right? $22 million for the next 10 years. You add in the funding of expanded rosters and more scholarships. You're looking at maybe $30 million annually that's going to be owed. That's probably what, I'm not a great mathematician, but that's about $300 million per school over the next decade. Right.
Absolutely.
That's a lot of damn money. So here's kind of where I'm going with this. And I've talked to some people who are, entrenched in this in the sport. Watch for these hedge fund and equity firms start to kind of take place here in college sports and start infusing money into athletic departments. One of the equity firms, Redbird Capital, already said that they gave an evaluation of Michigan football at $1 billion. Right.
Yeah.
And they're expecting a 10 to 12% return on that investment for, a piece into the franchise of Michigan football. Think about it in your portfolio. Vincent, I know you're a businessman. Lee, think about it in your portfolio. If you can put Texas Longhorns and Michigan Wolverines and Georgia Bulldogs and all of these things that you can put in there, because that's where teams are going to have to go to be able to put out this kind of money to stay relevant, because you are going to have to spend now to stay relevant. So college sports, the way that we know it, no longer exists. This isn't even semi-pro math from LA. This is minor league. This is professional sports, right? Because the type of money that we're talking about now to make teams still be relevant and compete, you got to get that from somewhere. You're not going to get it from boosters. You're not going to get it from donors. You're not going to get it from subsidies. You're not going to get it. That's not where you're going to get this type of money from. So the money part of this is what screams to me, and where you're going to get that infusion of cash. And I know you got them investment firms and those hedge fund firms that are ready and willing to pounce and infuse these colleges. What does that start to look like for college sports?
Yeah. Excellent points, Marv. Look, the NCAA, most of their money comes from March Madness, right? They get most of their money, $1.3 billion a year for March Madness. But however, each year they give out roughly $100 million just in distributing money to each team across, the entire NCAA. So, and then you look at the money that these conferences are making, they have the money. $22 million on the athletic budget. I don't fear that. Now, what I do fear, Marv, is leagues shrinking, right? These other 27 non-Power 5 conferences, what does it look like with sports at these schools? Will it shrink down? Will there be less schools offering football? Will there be schools offering less sports? I know Title IX gets into that. And then the other big thing for me on this is, how will the money be divided up? I mean, if you look at football revenue driving 80-85% of the revenue that's coming in, shouldn't the football players get more money of the divide? And how they divide that money up is what I'm really, really going to be looking at in this settlement. It's going to be very, very interesting how collectives now are dealing with it. And remember this, they're trying to move the collectives under the university, but that still doesn't preclude an individual from going out and getting an individual NIL deal. So all of the shadiness of NIL is still there. People think that it's not. All this is a temporary fix to stave off all of these lawsuits. And it looks good. It goes back to 2016. You have to get all these players to sign off, and that's all it is. More to come, because there's a lot that's still undecided. Mark, we were going to talk about Jaden Rashads and him suing Billy Napier and over NIL deal. I know we're running short for time, so what I'm going to do is I want to say that and the young buck Peyton Houston getting an NIL deal and doing his freshman year in high school for our next show. I want to give you the floor, Marv, because I want to get your parting shots for the day, and I want you to tell us what your parting shot is. This is about anything. First of all, thank you everybody for all the comments. It was a great, great show. We tried to help you. Some of you are a little misguided, but hey, that's okay. Just come on around to my thinking. We'll be okay. We want to thank our guy behind the scenes that gives you all of this great, great footage. Cassius, he's doing a tremendous job. And guys, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to the show. Marv, give us your parting shots.
I mean, I don't know if it's really a parting shot, but I think that anybody who's played Division I or college sports, this is a pretty good day, or the ruling is a pretty good day, because most of us who played understand what college sports has represented. I mean, it's been a minor league for professional sports that was probably watched by millions of people, right? That generated billions in revenue that went to zero of the participants, right? And if you break that down, that's pretty wild, honestly, And I think it finally we've come to a position where, these young men, young ladies are able to get some share of the revenue that they've worked so hard to create, that all of these people have made so much money off of their sweat equity, and the flip side of it was that the scholarship and it was all stapled to the educational piece for it. But all you got from that basically was the exposure and the benefits of a college degree, which however you want to kind of call that today is beneficial, or it may not be beneficial today. It just depends on what you're thinking. That's really unthinkable in any employment situation. You've never seen that anywhere else. And I'm just glad that the curtain finally got pulled back on this, because this was glorified. This was just free work. And anybody who's played college sports should be happy today that the kids moving forward are going to have the opportunity to be able to benefit from this, set themselves up in life. Maybe they don't play professional sports, but they're able to put themselves in a situation to start off ahead in life, which is what most of us really want, right? So I'm happy for it. I'm glad it's all said and done, and I don't care what happens to these universities. Pay up or get out.
Absolutely. Well said, Marv. My parting shot for the day, I want to call everybody's attention to two names. One is Pearl Moore. Pearl Moore, the all-time leading scorer in basketball. And I'll say that again, Pearl Moore, the all-time leading scorer in women's basketball, period. And her name was not mentioned enough during the Caitlin Clark pursuit of the scoring record. And when you look at it, her name didn't come up, and it should. And then also when we talked about Pistol Pete last year, I know a lot of you don't know this name, but Antoine Davis from Detroit Mercy. He came up 4 points shy last year of breaking Pistol Pete's Division I men's scoring record. He wasn't invited to any postseason tournaments so that he could break that record. But again, we didn't hear either one of their names when we talked about the pursuit of breaking these records. And I think that's a shame, because Miss Moore, when you go back and you research her, she was a great ball player, and her name never came up, Marv. So I think as we talk about these things and we talk about it, let's talk about the real Trailblazers, and let's give them all the love and all the credit, because these are great people that the hype machine sometimes leave their names out of the equation. So I just
That's a great point, Lee. Let me say one more thing. I'll be remiss if I didn't say this before we go. Want to give a shout out to my boy Kippy, that he's a friend of the show, but he lost somebody near and dear to him, unexpectedly. So wanted to give a shout out to him to say that, times are tough, but we'll get through. We always do. And we come on here and we talk a lot and we give our opinions, and you can love it or hate it. This is just all in fun, but life is real. So take care of the people that you love. You never promise tomorrow, and just make sure that we keep perspective of what's really important.
Absolutely. Thank you, Kippy, for definitely being on the show, and God bless. We really, really want to keep you in our prayers. Guys, that's another show for us. We'll hit some of the other topics next week, man. My guy, Marv, that's a guy. He going to bring it every week. I love it, man. That guy's on point. I'm Lee Jones. Hey, thank you for joining After the Buzzer podcast. Please tell a friend. We love you. We're out.